Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us at DePaul's Tech and Design Career Community event for the spring quarter. This quarter, it's our part of our How I Got This Job series, and today we're focusing on experience design. With us today as our guest of honor, Rija Aamir. Rija is a recent DePaul alum. She graduated from our master's in HCI program in June of 2022. And she currently works as an experienced designer at Publicis Sapient. So we're hoping to have a spirited discussion today. Ira Deshmukh is also joining us. She works in our Career Center as our Tech and Design Career Community Ambassador. And she will be conducting our interview today with Rija. But I also, and I think I mentioned this in our welcome message, we hope you brought some questions too, because we want to hear from you, our student guests. So throughout, Ira will start off with some questions, but feel free to throw questions in the chat. After about 20 minutes or so, we'll try to open it up to some more student questions. If you want to use the hand raising feature to ask a question too, you can certainly do that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ira.
Hi everyone. I'm Ira, like Lauren said, but we'll get straight into it. Rija, you are working at Publicis Sapient as a junior associate experience designer, right? Could you tell us about how you came to be in the role you are in today?
Yeah, hi everyone. So nice to see you all. My name is Rija, and thank you, Lauren, for introducing me. I'm so excited to be hearing questions and answering all those. So going to your question, how I got into this position, or how I got into this career. Well, my bachelor's was in IT, and I am a double diploma, so I did both my bachelor's and master's at DePaul. So while I was taking the IT courses, I came across the HCI course because I decided to opt in for the 5+1 program, which is like getting a master's degree like in one year after your bachelor's. So HCI, one of the courses I took for the master's program was HCI related. And that kind of like gauged my interest. So initially my master's was supposed to be in e-commerce technology, but that got discontinued at DePaul. And my counselor told me, hey, this is going to get discontinued. What are your next steps? Like which major do you want to choose for your master's? So that's when I decided like, hey, I liked HCI course a lot. So I want to try and like switch to that program. So that's what made me decide to continue my studies in HCI. And I've always loved like designing, like using design tools like Illustrator and all the courses like Figma, Xshore, all those like design tool stuff. I know a lot of you might have used it. So that has always captured my interest. And that's why when I was doing an internship at a communications firm in 2018, it was like pretty like coding based, which I didn't like a lot because it was like a lot of sitting and just in one corner and not being able to talk to a lot of people. But HCI opened the avenue for me to like interact with people, do group projects, and that's kind of like the environment I enjoy a lot. And that's why I switched to UX design, and that's how I got into this position with Publicis Sapient, because that was the first one I applied to during my grad program, and it was great. Like just going through the interview process. I know it's like a little bit nerve-wracking when you're first into your career, but yeah, eventually it will all work out.
Yeah, you touched upon it briefly, but how long was your job search process when you started out?
Yeah, so I mean, throughout my education, like I've been like working. So I don't know if you want me to briefly touch, like, because my career was in IT, so I started with that. So got an internship as an undergrad as a Java developer. I know that's like totally like different from UX, but I did have like a background in backend coding as well. So I started with that, and then when I switched to UX design, first time it was a bit difficult because it was right in the pandemic. That's when, because I started with my like full-time master's program in September 2020. So that was like just mainly in during the pandemic, and I was looking for some jobs, but it was like kind of hard for almost like everyone. So it was a long process. And then came like June 2021. I actually got an internship as a UX design intern at a plumbing e-commerce company, which was based in Texas. It was remote, so I was working remotely from Chicago and just helping them with their e-commerce platform. And then like after that, because it was an internship, I was like worrying about like, am I gonna land a job, like a full-time role or not? So that's when I started like applying, like right when I started my design internship, like next month, like just after 1 month, I started applying to the jobs as for the full-time roles, so that I'm like prepared, like I have like something like an offer in my hand once I graduate with my master's in the coming summer. So yeah, it was a long process, but Publicis Sapient, like they reached, so I applied to them for their position. They opened up in August 2021, and that's when I applied for their role. And then after that in September, so after a month or so, I heard back from them, and that was just like the initial screening. And then it took like another month for them to like schedule like the behavioral interviews and then the technical or the portfolio review interviews. So it was not like as fast as I would have expected. It was a bit slow, so it was a bit like frustrating, because I've been like a person, I always reach out to them like, hey, what are the next step, like just following up, because I haven't heard back. So I don't like ghosting, so I'm kind of like I don't want to be ghosted. So yeah, so it was I mean, I would say like during that time process, it was like 3 months or 4 months maximum for me for the job search.
That is still pretty long. You mentioned you were a web developer intern. So how did you go about making the switch to UI UX? And like, what would you, advise to people or students who are trying to make a switch between their careers also?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, what worked out was taking an HCI course, because the first foundation course, I think it was HCI 440. Pretty sure a lot of you might know that. So that was one of the first course I took, and that was that made me to switch to HCI. But like if someone is like have like a background in IT, definitely if you're interested in UX design, definitely like look at like online UX design challenges, talk to like people who are in UX design, just follow them on LinkedIn, read blogs if you're really looking into switching. Or there might be like some free courses. I know like DePaul has the LinkedIn Learning. So I would definitely recommend, like if you are into UX, definitely take some LinkedIn Learning courses just to get like an idea what UX design is. So when you jump into the course, it's nothing like new for you. And having like a coding background, it's like really beneficial, because for me, I can understand what a lot of developers are talking like when in the project. So, and I can make recommendations or like just talk to them like, okay, if we're doing this in the development, what would be like the UX design, like what I would think like UX design will do. So it's that background is being helpful for me too.
What was your like interview process like for your role currently?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I applied to the position. So I'm basically in their early careers program, which is like for people who are like recently graduated from college and are jumping into the career. So I got matched into that. So they posted their position like around the end of August 2021. And I applied to it. Like it just like my LinkedIn like group my job search was open, like alert was open, so I recommend that to do that, like use LinkedIn. So yeah, it popped up on my feed, and I eventually like just prepared all my stuff, my resume, my portfolio, polish it up, and then I applied to it. And then I heard back from them in September 2021, like towards the end of September. And they said like they will reach out to me in like a month or so, and then it was like a long pause like after that. So I was getting a little bit, I was applying to other positions as well. That was not, Publicis Sapient was not the only one I was focused on, but there was like other positions as well, and was getting interviews. But I wanted to do that because it was like an early careers program, and they provide like training and stuff. So I was like more interested in getting a position there. So yeah, I reached out to the recruiter. What are the next steps? Like any updates? So yeah, after in October 2021, I got scheduled with the behavioral interview. And then after the behavioral interview, it was like a kind of like a fast process. So I got like a UX design portfolio review, which I passed. And then towards the end, it was like a group interview where all the candidates came together just like on Zoom, and then we were put into groups, and we were given a UX design challenge to work as a group and solve like creating wireframes and then presenting to the wider group. So that was the end of the process. And then in November 2021, this whole process, like the behavioral interview, portfolio review, and then the group interview was like throughout the October, like the month of October. So I got the offer in November 2021. So yeah.
That sounds long and intensive,
Yeah.
but still worth it at the end. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you go about preparing for like the behavioral interview sections?
Mhm. Yeah. So I usually use Glassdoor just to like prepare and see like what previous people have been interviewed about. I found it like very helpful. Some of the questions doesn't make sense sometimes, but I would say just have like a good grasp on how you would like explain your project. So the main thing that I have noticed in behavioral interviews, what have been like been in, they are mostly like your project space. Even if you have not worked in any company or you don't have like any previous like position, just like make sure you talk about your college projects, your DePaul's projects in a way that like you have worked on those projects, like treat them like as a company projects. And that shows you like how strong of a person you are, how strong of a team player you are, how strong your collaborator you are. So yeah, I would definitely recommend like just like polishing your skills based on your projects, using Glassdoor. And there are like a lot of other websites that I used. One of them was muse.com. And then I also used DePaul's career resources. I think it was Lauren. I think I reached out to him, and then we had a mock interview, and I asked him like, hey, help me prepare for the behavioral questions. So I still have that document with me. So yeah, so I would definitely recommend that.
That's amazing. Are there any technical interviews that you've done for like more of the UI UX positions? And if there were, like, how did you go about preparing for those?
Yeah. So for the position specifically for Publicis Sapient, it was more of like my portfolio review. So what I did was, if you have a portfolio, so what I would recommend is to choose like at least like 2 case studies, like your top 2 case studies, and create a presentation slide. That's something like I did not know before when I was jumping into my UX design search process, but I was reading some blogs, and that's how some of the people got positioned, that they have like a deck prepared for the case studies. And it's helpful because with portfolio, you just like scroll through all the page, and sometimes people can miss a lot of stuff because it's very like detailed, and you cannot like touch on all the places. So yeah, so probably like a deck or something that's that highlights the main points, and that's how I prepared for it. Go through it like once before you are going to take the interview, and then it will be helpful like if you have a friend, just like walk through with them and then see like if there are like any missing points. For technical interviews, I do remember having one for the UX design internship that I had before Publicis Sapient. So basically just polishing up my skills, like my understanding of the tools like Figma, Xshore, XD, like whatever tools, and especially like pay attention to the job description, because a lot of questions are like, especially the technical questions are based on those job description points. Yeah.
That's really helpful. What were some of like did you have any like hurdles and setbacks that you faced when starting out, and how did you like overcome them?
Yeah, so definitely finding the position was like a hurdle, because in 2021 the market was still like pretty slow, and I was seeing a lot of people like towards like they are getting positions in my like my class as well. So I was like a little bit like that was like a setback for me. Hey, I'm not getting like a full-time position. So I know like everyone feels that I'm trying all that I can do. So why I'm not getting it. So yeah, just make sure that you are true to yourself, like who you are. Just present yourself, like don't like make up yourself like to be another person. And that's kind of like just keep your personality up. So yeah, that, and then also like applying for the positions, it was like one position matched what I do, and then it was like it will say like we need like 3 to 5 years experience. So that was like a setback for me, like why are they asking for an entry-level person to have like a 3 to 5 years experience? So yeah, so but I never like paid attention to a lot of them. I just applied it anyway, just like what would happen, they would just reject me. So just go ahead and apply it. Yeah, and then if you get an interview in that role, then that will be like a helpful for you just to prepare yourself. And then some of the interviews that I took, like they have helped me to get better for the next interview I was gonna take. So just take all these interviews like as a learning lesson as well.
Absolutely. And like also being patient throughout it all, because it's such an intensive process.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest question you've been asked in an interview?
I wouldn't say like weirdest question, but I don't know, like if it was like for like just judging me, because it was just for the UX. I'm not going to tell about the company, but it was like the UX design position as well at that company, and they were asking me all those questions for because I had a background in Java web development, so they were just asking me questions along those lines. So I felt like that was kind of like a bit, like I would say weird, because I didn't apply for the Java web developer. I applied for the UX design intern, and I had like my UX experience, like my UX projects, my portfolio was UX based. I had UX design internship, all that. But I was just like so confused, like why did they ask me that?
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I know one of the most popular questions that usually people ask is how to stay up to date with like latest trends and stuff, right? What did you do, or like what do you do even to stay on top of these trends like within the industry? Or like do you have any recommendations for, specific websites or magazines or something?
Yeah, definitely Medium is one of the best website. There's like a lot of new articles. I do follow a lot of people on LinkedIn and have signed up for some of their newsletters. So definitely do that. UI, UX, you can just search it up, UX trends, and a lot of like website. I know there is UI, UX. Hold on, there's like a lot of websites that I follow. So yeah, so it's UI UX tips or something, that's the website called. So that one definitely. And then also just looking at Dribble, like that's kind of like my main go-to website if I'm looking for an inspiration for a project. And then at Publicis, we do get like a Udemy access to, so every time there's like a new trend, I try to search it on Udemy and take a course for that if there's one.
That's amazing. What other advice would you give to aspiring professionals in your field?
Mhm. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend networking. It's definitely a game changer, and not even like outside of your workplace, but also in the inside. Every like week or so, I have coffee chats with like some senior leaders at Publicis Sapient, and that's just like a nice way because Publicis Sapient is a client-focused company, so you never know like who you get introduced to and who you're gonna work with in the future. So yeah, just network is your best friend. So yeah, I would definitely say that.
For sure. That's also something we tell everyone as well. And networking can be daunting, but once you get
Yeah.
started, it's so much easier. What's one thing you wish you knew at the start of, your job search that you know now?
That's going to be a long process. That's for sure. Yeah, because the internship that I had, or the previous positions that I had, they were not that. Their interview process was not that long. Like
Mhm.
just one interview and then you're done. Like I got the offer. But with Publicis Sapient, like it was like a long process, and I was not expecting that it's going to be so long. But once that happened, that phase like passed, I was like so relieved, and it was like kind of like an accomplishment in itself. Like, hey, I did my best, and even like towards like when I was done with my group interview, I had like this kind of like imposter syndrome. Like, hey, I didn't do good. I didn't do this. So, yeah. So definitely something that I wish I knew. Like it's a long process, and then also imposter syndrome does hit you. I didn't believe that at first, but now like going through all the phases and all like even at job, like it's real. So yeah, if you want to talk to someone, just go ahead and talk to. I actually have like my sister. I blurted out like a lot to her. Like this is what's going on. Like what should I do? So yeah, so have some like a support system as well.
Yeah, that's nice. We have a question in the chat. Someone is asking, what did you use for portfolio review?
Yeah, so for portfolio review, I actually had like someone in my network who I reached out, and they are UX designers. So I did reach out to them, hey, can you review my portfolio? And then they did it for me. And then there's like some Discord channels as well. I don't know if you guys might be familiar with Design Buddies. So you can post your portfolio links there, and then they can give you feedback on your case studies as well.
That's really helpful. We have another question. What analytics tools does your current company use to measure the results of the design interventions, say to measure success of client engagements?
I'm sorry, I cannot answer that because that's an NDA.
No.
Yeah.
We'll just wait for more questions to come in. Till then, how could someone gain experience in the industry outside of the classroom? What would you think is the best way to go about it?
Yeah. So what besides classroom, what I did for there's during like 2021, there was like a lot of hackathons that were happening. So I always like was on the lookout for them, and I signed up for that. And then I think DePaul introduced this. I didn't use it, but there's this website called Code for Chicago. They have like some volunteer projects which are UX design based as well. So I would recommend if you can get involved in that, that would be nice. So you can get experience like outside, and that's kind of like the they have like a client, so you can get experience like how you work with the clients, and like in a team as well.
What would you say was is the biggest challenge in your field and industry at the moment?
The biggest challenge. I mean, the biggest challenge right now is, I don't know if that, but generative AI, because it's taking a lot of over. So it's one of the biggest challenges. Like, how can you intervene as a human and then compete with its intelligence. So yeah, everyone is like trying to see its value and how it's going to be helpful, and it is challenging as a UX designer to see and then provide like input based on some of the clients who ask questions
Mhm.
about that. So yeah.
It's very murky waters, generative AI now.
Yeah, it's pretty new as well. So people are just jumping in. And I had a discussion with one of the senior leader at my company, and we were just talking about like it's pretty new. Everyone is like trying to experiment with it, but they don't understand like what kind of like ethical perspective is going to be in the future for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also some of the conversations that are also taking place in classes now. So totally. What is the most interesting trend in your field this year, at least?
This year, I mean, definitely generative AI. Yeah, because I'm like pretty like all over the place with generative AI because I did a hackathon, and it was pretty interesting to see um, how a lot of people or companies are trying to implement or develop or launch tools that are generative AI or similar to Chat GPT. So that's there. And then other than that, we now have like, if we think about like the mobile industry, like the mobile phones, so flip phones are coming back. So I've seen like a lot of things, there are like a lot of discussions around how can we design for flip phones. It's not like different in the interface, but you know, like there's like other people who are using it. And definitely accessibility wise, a lot of new trends are coming up. I've taken a course on Udemy. It's called um, how UX designers can design for accessibility. It was a great course. A lot of like good stuff from a UX design perspective. You know, like they're like accessibility guidelines, and they are very text heavy. But that course like condensed it and then provided like all the guidelines as a UX designer you're supposed to take. So yeah.
What is one piece of practical advice you could give to anybody who's just starting out in the industry?
Yeah. So like practically, can you repeat that question here? I missed a part.
Sorry, yeah. What is one piece of like practical advice you
Okay.
would give to somebody who's just starting out? So like anything they could do or not do.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, I can again say that like network, like even outside or inside your company. I know DePaul has like great resource, and then practically like just think about like the life things happen, just accept the change, be adaptable to the change, because a lot is happening right now, like economy wise, like the work wise and everything. I know it's like hard, but just be true to yourself, just stay focused like on one thing, and just be like adaptable to change.
That's really helpful. I have one last question for you before we can again open it up for like questions from the audience. What would you say are the common misconceptions people have about, the UI UX industry? And how do you think we could like combat those misconceptions and, communicate more effectively?
Yeah, so a lot of people, they just think that UI UX is just using Photoshop and Illustrator and fixing graphics, but it's a lot more than that. It's heavily involved like process, like from ideating, like initial conception of the idea to researching, then designing, then getting feedback, and then iterating like back and forth with the stakeholders. So how I would say like to combat this is I actually don't know, like I haven't been in the situation where I have to combat it, but one interesting thing that I heard like in one of the classrooms at DePaul, when they had to explain UX UI design to someone, is that they tell them that it's kind of like a building blueprint. So not the building blueprint, but an app blueprint, and just how a building's like process goes into, like it starts with the getting a land, like here we're gonna design this, then they design a blueprint, then there's like a back and forth conversation. So yeah, it's kind of like similar how UX design should be like approached.
Wow.
Well, while we're waiting for more questions from our students too, I had a couple questions, Rija. One, I don't think you're right. I don't think you asked this, but are there any skills that you're using on the job, either like soft skills or technical skills that you never would have expected that you would be using on a kind of a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so one of the skills, I would say it's auditing, like auditing the websites, doing like just looking at like how the previous screens were designed, how can they be improved. So that was something that I would never expected that I would do. And then one another thing like UX design related is I know like information architecture is like pretty heavy, but it didn't came up a lot while taking the courses at DePaul. I just only took like one course, which was information architecture, but it was not like the main focus for me. So I thought like I just put it in like the back burner of, hey, this is not gonna happen. I'm gonna be doing like wireframing and prototype, but no, information architecture is like very important. Like that's kind of like the first step you go into before you go into like wireframing and prototyping. So definitely like those two skills. And then another thing that now as I'm progressing in my career, another helpful or soft skill is the presentation skills, like how to talk to the clients, backing up your like design decisions with like UX, like why are you making a certain design decision? You need to like explain that to the client because they don't have knowledge about UX design. So you need to have like that skill to explain to them properly. So yeah, definitely presentation skills, and also be ready to like accept like the critiques that are being given to you, because most of the time you will take them personally, but I would say don't never take them personally because they are a way for you to grow and help you in your design decisions. So yeah.
I'm glad you said something about like the presentation aspect and kind of having it justify and back up your decision making. I feel like it is something that maybe folks that are in school don't necessarily think about, or they're more focused on the technical component. And you kind of said something that actually led to the other question I want to ask. While you're at DePaul, obviously every student can take some electives along with their core course load. Were there any electives that you found to be particularly helpful for your role, or were there any classes that you wish that you had taken when you were here?
Yeah, so one of the class, I mean, for the electives, I would definitely recommend, can't remember the course name, but it was something like the project management related course that I took. So I definitely recommend that one. And then there was another one that I took was business disaster and recovery. It was an IS information systems course. So I would definitely recommend taking that because that opened up like a whole new perspective for me, like what I can do as a UX designer. And that helped me like think about like how would I approach that. And then one of the courses that I wished I would have taken it, but I couldn't because it was like offered in like a different quarter in the fall, like before, like after I was graduating. So accessibility course, I would definitely recommend taking that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we always try to, I think when you're a student, you want to kind of balance those electives with things that look fun and interesting, but also the things that are going to really like practically help you. So I think for all our students listening, like make sure you're looking at a bunch of job descriptions right now, even if you're not ready to apply. Look at those descriptions, see what those requirements are. And if you're not getting those requirements in your core course load, look at what electives might help you fulfill some of those things. Sorry, I keep a little under the weather today. I'm going to throw out one last request. If any student wants to ask a question, speak now or forever hold your peace, because we can wrap up early if no one's asking questions.
So I
Well,
think Rija may have dropped out of the call.
oh, did she? Oh no.
I think so.
Oh, I hope she's able to get back in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna excuse me. So I've just launched an exit survey. If all of our student guests could fill that out really quickly, that just helps us figure out what kinds of future events to do. It looks like we did just get another question in the chat. I'm gonna go on mute again here. I'm sorry.
Someone's at Keisha is asking, would you say having an internship help land your job? Should we wait till Rija joins back?
Yeah, let's wait a couple minutes. I hope that that she can rejoin.
Yeah. We have
Oh,
another question.
now the questions are coming in. Now that Rija dropped off the call.
Rija, hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm so sorry. I think it's my network. It just
No worries. We actually have two questions for you. I'm just gonna read it off. Someone asking, would you say having an internship helped you land your job? They're a career switcher and will graduate with their master's in HCI in June and don't qualify for summer internships. Do you think it was absolutely necessary to do an internship to prepare you?
I mean, my experience would be like different from like others, but I would say like definitely that has helped me because I was able to like understand from my internship like how to talk to the stakeholders and how to like present some of the stuff. But it was so most of the time, like when I was interviewing for Publicis Sapient, most of the questions were resonated to my college projects. So again, like make sure you are like strong, you have like a strong understanding what you have done in your college projects, so that you can explain like throughout like how did you make your design decisions. So I wouldn't say like it would be necessarily. I think your explaining skills should be strong and you should be able to like tell the interviewer like why are you the best person to be like hired. So that just comes, I would say like that just comes with practice. And during my UX portfolio review, I only showed the project that I worked at DePaul. Like that was like kind of like the first project that I worked at, and that helped me like land onto the next part of the interview process. So yeah, it would really depend, I would say.
Just moving on to the next question. Someone's asking a question about personal projects. How did you go about that?
So for the personal projects, I always like find these websites like UX design challenge generators, and there's like one prompt that I pick up, and I just work on that. And then some of the projects like on my portfolio, even they are just like DePaul based projects. Like make sure you have like a strong track record of your projects that you're working on in classes, so that when you are putting together your portfolio, you don't have to like dig into like pieces and find like everything that's like all over the place. So just make sure like you're organized and you can put it on your portfolio.
I hope that answers your question, Samara. Oh no, sorry, Sinine. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing their names right. I'm so sorry. We have a question from Samara. Would you recommend getting a master's or further schooling for UI UX and HCI job opportunities?
Definitely say so, yes. For master's, because I have seen that firsthand, like people with studies like in HCI, they would have a good grasp on HCI like stuff. Not saying like anyone like who's not taking HCI courses will not have, but like that's something I think a lot of positions are, a lot of companies are now looking at. So definitely like furthering your understanding or your schooling in HCI for like more job opportunities.
We have another question. Someone wants to take classes such as sign language, but they're a cybersecurity major and all their elective credits are fulfilled. Is there a way they can fulfill their class requirements but still take classes that they're interested in?
That might be a little bit outside of
Yeah.
the purview of this conversation, Jaylene. I would recommend talking to your academic advisor about that. Any other questions? Keep coming.
There. Did you ever contact, oh, we got quite a few.
Oh, Jaylene, I was just saying, I think your question is a little bit outside of the purview of this conversation. So I would do recommend talking to your academic advisor about that. Yeah.
Cindy is asking, do you ever contact people on LinkedIn for coffee chats? Instead of like in doing more than just applying to jobs?
I have, yes, I have. I actually attended one of the session for IBM, and there I got connected to their senior UX designer, and I reached out to them on LinkedIn, and then we have like this one-on-one connect for coffee chat where we just talked about like portfolio, like UX, UI, UX trends, and all. Yeah, so it's definitely, I would definitely recommend doing that. Just and even if you're like cold messaging people, definitely do that. Because it's just a way, like you never know who is reading your messages, even if you're not getting responsive, but like that person might read, like have someone come to them and then say, hey, I'm looking for this person, and then it will click like, hey, this person reached out to me on LinkedIn, so maybe they might be like helpful for what you're looking for.
Are there any other options for a master's to make us well-rounded in the field?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen a lot of people from boot camps or just doing some short courses like certificate as well. So if you're interested in, you can definitely try like doing a certificate. Sure, a lot of, I don't think so DePaul offers it, the UX design certificates, but definitely there are like other schools that do that. Gonna find the school, the college name. One of my co-worker like shared with me, and she was taking these courses, and I think it's based in Chicago. I can find it and then I can send it to Lauren and Ira, and then they can share it further with you.
Okay, we got two more questions. How did you pick up some of the skills for your job that you did not already have a strong background in?
Yeah, definitely. Just like what I would do if some of the skills I didn't have, I would just talk to the other person that I'm working on the team with, and then help me like walk through some of the either like the design tools, or for example, like I talked about the audit. I didn't have like a good idea of how to do an audit, but I had my coworker like sit down with me, and then I like kind of like shadowed her and like saw like how she did it, so that I can understand and do it better with my project.
Another question is, any certifications after graduation, like Salesforce or other ways to keep learning?
Yeah, I mean, for now I haven't done like any certifications, but definitely like for Salesforce, I've heard they have like their UX design components, so I would definitely recommend like looking at that. And then like just like short courses like Udemy or LinkedIn Learning, just to keep yourself like fresh on the top. Because a lot of like those courses are revised every now and then as new things come up. I know at our job, like they are highly recommending this generative AI course. I'll share the link with Lauren and Ira, and then they can send out to you all. But it's how to be like an ethical AI designer. So it's along those lines.
We got a clarification from one of the earlier questions. They were asking what options other than HCI are good choices when deciding what masters to do, like IT or even business.
I just want to kind of throw in, Rija, I know you have your bachelor's in IT, right? Do you find you're using that at all on the job? Like, has that been helpful, or is it, or was what you're doing kind of completely removed from anything you're doing in the undergrad?
No, I have been like using it, like for example, for website design, because I learned like JavaScript, HTML, and then also like audit. Like I didn't use it a lot in my IT major, but that was like one of the courses that touched based upon that. So I'm definitely using like some of the concepts from that to understand it better. I don't know if that answers, Lauren.
Yeah, I think it answers my question. I guess I was just trying to kind of clarify. I think what Sunine was asking. Sunine, I don't know if that's what you're kind of looking for, but yeah, I mean, I would say anything can help. Depending on what you want to do. I think an IT degree can be great if you want to pursue things related to that. I think a business degree can be great if you want to look at strategy or how your business unit fits into the larger business as a whole. But it really just depends on what you're interested in. So there's another question here. I'll let you take that.
We have one more. Is knowing coding essential to UX or HCI work?
I wouldn't say so. It's good that you have knowledge on that. But I mean, I have used it here and there, not a lot. It's a lot of like UX design work is in itself like a lot. So having like coding would be like on another level. So I wouldn't say like it's essential, but it's good to have.
I hope that answers your question, Samara.
So we can start wrapping up. I already sent out the poll early because I thought we were wrapping up early. So everyone hopefully did that. So again, I just want to thank Rija Aamir for joining us today and sharing her wisdom and her experience and her successes and her the obstacles that she faced and using candor to tell us all about all that stuff. And Ira, I want to thank you for hosting and leading our interview. Great job. We certainly hope to see everyone when we resume this series back in the fall. We will be sending this recording out to all of you, as well as all students that registered, as well as that link that Rija had mentioned to that online class. So keep a lookout for that. We'll send that out either probably sometime later this week. So you will get that soon. Again, thank you all so much. I'll be closing this out now, but I will also in that email share Rija's LinkedIn profile if you want to connect with her on there. And then that's it. I never know how to end these things cleanly. But thanks again, everyone, so much, and have a great evening. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye all.
Bye-bye.